Hello everyone, I'm Melinda Holt for the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, and I'd like to welcome you all for joining us for this month's OTAN Tech Talk. Our guest speaker today is Sachiko Oates, who will be presenting Embedding Digital Literacy Skills into Adult ESL. Okay, Sachi, take it away.
All right. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sachi Oates, and I am an ESL instructor at Santa Barbara City College. I am also a technology lead and a faculty liaison for the non-credit program. Well, over the years, I have collected resources and tried out tech tools, developed tech-enhanced lesson plans, and implemented professional development for instructors. Today, I would like to share some of the ideas and resources from our school. First of all, let's go over why we are here. Here are our objectives. By the end of this webinar, participants will be able to explain why digital literacy is relevant in adult education and recognize at least 2 ways to embed digital literacy into adult ESL, and design a lesson or project incorporating digital literacy skills. And today we'll go over why digital literacy and steps to embedding digital literacy, challenges and successes from our school, resources and examples from 2015 to 2018, and some useful tools for digital literacy integration. And finally, planning your project and activity. Well, first, why digital literacy? David Warlick, who is an instructional technology specialist, once said, "We need technology in every classroom and in every student and teacher's hand because it is the pen and paper of our time, and it is the lens through which we experience much of our world." I think this is so true. Our workplace looks like this, whether you work in a restaurant or a doctor's office or work as a mechanic. We need to use technology at work, and we need to apply online and submit timesheets online. Kids are also learning with technology, and parents need to know how to help them with homework. Kids' schools and teachers communicate via online messaging systems these days. Also, government information and applications are online. Commercial activities are online. We buy online and bank online. And we communicate via social media, we text, and we need to use technology to get an education. Many of the standardized exams are now computer-based. So you get the point. Technology touches every part of our lives now. If we were to get our adult learners ready for today's society, we need to incorporate digital literacy into our ESL curriculum. Also, it is important to remember what technology students use or need to use when planning technology-enhanced lessons. Make sure to incorporate those skills and topics in order to make your lessons relevant. Well, back to getting students ready for the 21st century. Here are some of the words found in the College and Career Readiness Standards. Multimedia shows up quite a bit along with digital and graphs and charts. So as you can see, there are many reasons for embedding technology skills. First, successful and fulfilling life in the 21st century, for successful life in today's society. We talked about how every part of our lives now is enhanced by technology. And second, effective and timely language acquisition. Research shows that the use of multimedia can help and accelerate language learning. And technology can help differentiate instruction and help make learning student-centered. Many of the instructors at our school use Chromebooks to address multi-level classroom management challenges. And number 4, autonomy, empowerment, and self-efficacy development. Research also shows that the use of technology allows student autonomy, thus empower and help develop self-efficacy. I will be talking about a couple of autonomous learning resources for ESL later. And for higher motivation, engagement, and persistence. The use of technology combined with project-based collaboration has been linked to students' higher motivation, engagement, and persistence. Through action research at our college, I personally have seen the effects. A few times, different students asked me when we were going to the lab, computer lab, to work on their team projects. And they wanted to make sure that they came on that day. One of the male students told me that he'd skip his soccer practice for my class. So then I knew this higher motivation and engagement thing was real. Anyways, well, don't just listen to me. Here are some of the comments from the students. They said, I like the project because it helped me write sentences. I like everything about the project. I learned new vocabulary and how to do timelines. I felt calm when giving the presentation. Even though I still can't speak English well, I know I can improve. I was very excited to hear this. We are cultivating growth mindset here. And at first, I did not feel comfortable with computers, but I learned a lot. My teammate helped me. Tech-enhanced collaborative learning supports creating a sense of belonging. Tech-enhanced collaborative learning supports creating a sense of belonging. And also, I like to work in the computer lab because I can choose what to do. And finally, this project introduced me to different jobs. So as you can see, students' motivation and confidence went up, and the use of technology was effective in supporting learning. And you can definitely see it in their faces. They're happy and motivated. Also, in our pilot programs, I asked instructors for feedback, and here is what they said. Students loved it. Attendance was up on computer days. I have multi-level, and it allowed me to have one group busy doing some practice on Chromebooks while I worked with the others. I made the class project-based. The students were proud of their work, and I'm able to manage my 3-level classroom with greater ease and focus. Student learning outcomes have improved. So these are all great things that is happening. However, we did have some challenges, and at first we didn't have enough devices for all the students. So we used lots of grant funding, such as WIOA, California Adult Education Program grant, and also basic skills initiatives money to purchase different hardware and software programs. And we also realized that this is a learning process for teachers as well. And we did a lot of professional development. We offered quite a few group workshops, as well as one-on-one support and in-class coaching as well. And the last challenge was that the students' computer literacy levels were low, and it made it hard to incorporate technology. So we started with simple things. We took small steps. So speaking of taking small steps, so we started by learning about technology, basic computer skills, incorporating basic keyboarding skills, and we learned how to be safe online. We learned from technology. We used a lot of language learning websites and software. We did many web quest type of activities. And we learn with technology. We use emailing, social networking sites. We created documents, multimedia presentations, and in this case, students are the content creators. And we also are moving towards learning through technology. At this stage, we do have access to Canvas, so technology is just a tool to get education at this point. Another way to look at tech integration is through the summer model. Dr. Ruben Puentedura developed the summer model as a way to evaluate how teachers are incorporating technology into their instructional practice. And at the first two levels on the bottom, technology is used to enhance learning, and as you go up the ladder, technology is used to transform learning. At the transformation stages, students are using more higher order thinking skills. So the first step is substitution. At this stage, technology is directly substituted for a more traditional one with no functional change. For example, a student might read an article online instead of a hard copy, or write an essay describing his or her hometown using Microsoft Word or Google Docs instead of using paper. And the next stage, at the next augmentation stage, the technology is directly substituted for a traditional one, but with some functional improvement. For example, a student might use the spell check or formatting functions on Google Docs. In the modification stage, we're beginning to move from enhancement to transformation on the model. Instead of replacement or enhancement, the technology significantly alter the task and transform learning experience and outcomes. For example, a student might share his hometown document with classmates and receive real-time feedback for collaboration. At the last stage of this model, summer model, redefinition, the technology allows for creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. That sounds exciting. Well, for example, a student might transform the hometown paper into a multimedia presentation and share it on social media with the people all over the world to teach them about his hometown and receive comments and feedback. So this is it's a good idea to keep this summer model in mind when planning a lesson. And this is a great tool for reflecting on what learning experience you are providing your students. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the examples when we first started incorporating technology in 2015. I started with very simple things. The first thing I'd like to show you is our website. It's at tinyurl.com/Z79LDF2, number 2. And feel free to use this site. It's a few years old, so it might need to be updated soon. However, when we first started, we started with this basic computer skills part, and here we have many links to some, typing and mouse practice pages, as well as some online safety information. I also added links to some of the Google Applied Digital Skills lessons. Here there are lots of videos, and you can sort of follow the directions here to get students to be using Google accounts and things like that. So it's a resource page for you and students as well. Anyways, this is a page with a lot of links to resources. And if I I go back to the home page. We also included translation and dictionary sites, and the Simple English Wikipedia page is a great place to send students for research, and combined with some of the Chrome extensions such as this read and write, you can have students work on their own. If you highlight it and click play, I'm not sure if you can hear this, but the program is reading aloud, the text aloud, and students can hear the pronunciation and help them read. So that's a great resource. Also, if they have if they come across difficult vocabulary words, they can use the translation pop-up translator. And I also have, let me close this, the dictionary function. So when students come across a word that they don't know, they can just double click on it, and see if I can. This dictionary thing pops up, and they can listen to the pronunciation as well. So these Chrome extensions can help students be more independent in their own studies, along with this, simple English Wikipedia page. I send them for research a lot. Okay, so back to our website. That was here in the translation, translator and dictionary section. And we also compiled lots of different language learning web pages. And based on their levels, they can go to different pages to learn different skills and visit different activities. I typically show this page at the beginning of the semester so students know where to go when they're done with their projects, and they can work on their own independently, their individual work here. Okay, and sorry. So that was in the language practice section. Also, when I first started, I created this digital literacy activity books, and if you click on the page, this is for level 1. There are lots of ideas for simple projects. For level 1, this is to look for a picture of students' hometowns, and just go to Google and type in and click on image, and they can talk about and introduce some of the buildings or sites that they know. And there are lots of very simple activities. We use a lot of, we have a lot of cell phone activities for level 1 especially. Anyways, I wanted to show you our resource web page first. Please feel free to use any of the resources that we have here. Okay, back to our presentation. The second project that I wanted to show you was this linked phone message activity we did for EL Civics one time. I have created a couple of activities here, and students can access this with a link and select an activity. And this is for our education unit, reporting an absence, and students can click on this. And I'm not sure if you can hear it, but if the student clicks on it, they can listen to the directions. So what I said in here was, leave a message if you or reporting absence, tell me your name. The direction is here, and then students can click on this microphone icon and record their voice and submit. Once they submit it, I can hear it. I can go to my teacher account and click on the activity. There are 21 submissions, and I know you can't hear it, but students' voices are recorded here, and you can check and give feedback. I gave him a thumbs up, and here you can write the feedback, you can speak the feedback, and students will access again to check their feedback. Okay, so that was a great activity for EL Civics. This made the task more authentic by having them record their own voice. And next, another simple project on Padlet. Perhaps you have heard of this program already. Padlet is an online bulletin board that is very easy to set up. For this activity, we are reviewing health vocabulary, advising, and also the past tense. Students wrote about a time when they or their family was sick. And first they posted their piece, then reviewed others' submissions, and they left comments. So you can see some people added pictures, and you can see students left comments. This made this activity interactive, and it was a lot of fun for the students to do. And at the same time, we're practicing writing, typing, reviewing the advising vocabulary, and the past tense verbs. Okay. So these are very simple, easy to implement projects. And I would also like to show you my favorite activity that we did. It was a technology enhanced project-based learning activity. And we were working on recommending and requesting, and the letter and emailing formats, and communication skills on building consensus. Anyways, what happened was that first students discussed in groups what improvements they recommended for our school, and they had to brainstorm and build consensus to create a list of things that they want in their schools. And they worked on Google Doc to write the list collaboratively. So this is the attachment that 3 or 4 students worked together, and this is just an example, but they say we need a library to borrow ESL books, conversation videos, etc. We need a student lounge. So they made a list together, and then at one point somebody added a picture here. And first they sent me this email using Google Gmail and attached or shared this list with me. And then I actually sent this to then the coordinator person, and we did get water purifier in our classrooms because of this. So this was fun and empowering to the students. They actually made a suggestion, and something changed because of this. Yeah, it says we would like a water filter in the classroom. That was the last thing on the list. We did not get a cafeteria or a taco truck. However, it was fun to get their recommendations. Anyways, so that's a more involved project. And finally, I want to show quickly some of the EL Civics activities we did. Last topic we did was an emergency unit, and all the students wrote articles about an emergency situation, and they picked their own topic, and we did research on using Newzilla, some Google, and Simple English Wikipedia, and also we did YouTube as well. And they shared their articles with me, and then I shared this folder with all the students' articles with them, and they read each other's articles. Yeah, some of them picked our the big fires in California and hurricane, and this particular student chose to write about the mudslide in this area. And when they submit their article, I used this suggesting function on Google to help edit. For example, if I want her to add that here, I would suggest that a car accident that made me love life more. Then it will show up on the comment area, and students have to check to see what I changed and accept the suggestion. This way, it's one more step for them to think about their writing than just me making changes. So I use this suggesting function on Google for this. Anyways, so this was our emergency article activity. It took a few weeks to do this, so this is more extensive. I have one more project to show. It was about citizenship research project. This was a 4-week project. Students chose their topic. Some chose to talk about a holiday in the US. Some chose to do presentation on a president, and then they did research together. They collaborated online and in person in class. And we actually connected our classroom with another classroom on a different site, school site, via Zoom, which is a video conferencing app. And we connected our classrooms, and our students, my students, presented, and the other teachers' class listened to our presentations, and they gave feedback, and we collaborated in distance. And so this was a great way to connect different classrooms. And at this time, it was just within our school, but we could collaborate with a classroom across the state or another country. So we can do a lot of things with this Zoom or video conferencing websites. Okay, and I know you can't hear it, but this is how it went down. My students are introducing themselves, and they're going to share their PowerPoint presentation with another class. And you'll see in a minute, this in the corner, you see the other classroom, and this is my students' presentation. They're going to talk about it, and then about 1:20, now they're back, and then this is the other classroom. They're going to ask questions and give feedback, and this is how we connected our classrooms via video conferencing. Anyway, so those are some of the examples from our school, and there are lots of useful tools for technology integration. You can, of course, use prepackaged language learning software and websites like Burlington or CELED or GCF, Learn Free. And I talked about online dictionaries, Chrome extensions, pop-up, and online research. Resources like Simple English Wikipedia, Newzilla, Google, and YouTube. Of course, emailing and texting, social media, and some of the accessibility tools, text-to-speech I showed you briefly, Google for Education, sharing and collaboration, that's great, presentation and video making programs, and online voice recording. Linked was one of the examples, and online bulletin boards, Padlets, or discussion forums. And finally, video conferencing. We used Zoom in our case. Okay, but there are lots of useful tools, but always important to remember and start from the learning outcomes of the project. So first, when you are designing your own projects, please start with, what are the learning outcomes of this project or activity? And how does the technology you chose enhance student learning? Technology should be used to enhance their learning. It's not just to learn about technology. And does this project or activity give students autonomy and choice? Does this project or activity encourage students to ask critical questions? Does this project or activity include self-reflection? We're trying to use higher order thinking here. Does the project encourage collaboration, creativity, and communication? And finally, does the project allow students to showcase their products publicly? If you're doing project-based learning, this is an important question to ask. Anyways, now this is the end of my presentation. I hope this was helpful. Thank you again for listening. And Melinda, I'll ask you to take over at this point.
Thank you, Sachiko. I'd also like to thank the audience for watching this OTAN Tech Talk. If you have a tool or some tips that you use in an adult education program and that you'd like to share with the adult education field, please submit your idea at goo.gl/G12VTO. We also encourage you to subscribe to the OTAN YouTube channel, where you can view archived Tech Talks as well as view other OTAN videos. OTAN is a leadership project for adult education in California, and if you are at a WIOA-funded site, you can contact OTAN for additional services, including professional development at your site. Visit the OTAN website at www.otan.us or contact us by phone or email. We hope to see you all at future OTAN Tech Talks.